Can we just eat the rich now? How disgusting is it to know that while you're struggling and can't afford a $400 emergency, countless millionaire celebrities were getting PPP loans that they don't have to pay back now?
Did you qualify for a PPE loan or a protection program funded by our US government over the pandemic? Did you even try to apply? Did you see if you qualified? Of course you didn't. Many of us just didn't apply for this because we knew we wouldn't qualify or we didn't meet certain criteria. So, what was the PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Program loans for anyway? Well, it was for employers trying to ensure that their staff and employees would remain, with them after this pandemic to kind of ensure that they'd get some money to help relieve them of having to close their businesses. And a lot of people that applied for these loans, if they did not meet the certain criteria, they were going to be forced to have to repay some of these loans. So I want to talk about some of the criteria. 60% of the loan had to be spent on payroll costs. Employee retention, like I said, businesses wanted to retain some of these employees, so they took out these loans to ensure they could pay these people and keep salary levels stable. The other one is documentation. Obviously, one of the bigger things is that people wanted to make sure these loans were going to these type of things, these criteria, and not just you taking out PPP loans just for yourself. So the repayment terms, if not forgiven, the loan interest rates were set at 1%. Borrowers, that's really low. If you have the money and it's found out that you didn't really qualify, let's just say this isn't too bad. You could pay this back given you didn't blow all the money, right? You didn't spend all the money. Payments were deferred for the first 6 months, though interest accrued during that time. So a lot of people maybe they didn't meet the criteria. They took out the loan anyway. They borrowed because they just were uncertain of what was going to happen. Now, there's some high profile people, as you guys have seen on TikTok, and I'm going to show you a couple videos today on this that are definitely taking these loans out that did not need these loans to support them. I want to get you guys' feedback perspective after watching a couple of these videos.
Know that Tom Brady, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Reese Witherspoon, and Khloe Kardashian took out PPP loans during the pandemic? I guess they needed a little help from the government. Let's go over and see how much they took out. Kanye West's loan amount was $2 to $5 million. He wanted to help his 106 employees. His valuation on the business that took out the loan is $3 billion. I don't know, Kanye. I think the first day on interest for you could have paid your employees. Just a thought. Khloe Kardashian, like you don't have enough, but that's okay. You can take more from us. We're okay. The loan amount was $1 to $2 million. The valuation on the business that she applied for the loan, $40 million. Gotta help out a girl. Come on. Help them out. Reese Witherspoon, hi Reese. Loan amount, $350K to $1 million to help 44 employees. In 2021, Miss Witherspoon made $400 million. So you can get a little help from the government. It's okay. I understand. I've been there. Jay-Z, his loan amount was $2.4 million. Hey, it's all right.
I'm going to pause because Jay-Z taking out a PPP loan is quite embarrassing. I mean, they're billionaires. Him and his wife are billionaires. I saw a video that was on Jimmy Dore of him and I might show the video here, but it was an analogy to what the rich people make versus the poor. And it was used with a grain of rice to kind of set the stage of what this is looking like, how ridiculous it is to have these insane people, in my opinion, Tom Brady, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Reese Witherspoon, these rich celebrities asking for money when they don't need it. This proves that the rich will take advantage of these programs, and only the dumb people, the people like you and I that don't see this as an opportunity, don't take advantage of this because of fear of, oh my God, I'm going to get caught. Caught for what? Let's say you have a business. Let's say I have a business, and I do have a business, and I have somebody that needs to run errands for me. I have somebody that manages my accounting. Maybe I only have 3 or 4 employees. Why wouldn't I have taken out a loan? Think about that. Why wouldn't I have taken advantage of this, considering a lot of businesses were shut down, people weren't able to travel, so many things were stopped during this pandemic that, I mean, yes, realistically, none of these people are going to be held accountable for this. But she's saying that they took this out for that. Whether or not they blew that money on themselves, unimportant is what I'm saying, because They're going to say, well, they said that they were using it to pay groundskeepers and things like that. These billionaires are going to get away with this. Did they need the money? That is the moral part here. Let's continue.
You're in enough trouble. Tom Brady, dude, what's up? He took out $960,000. Guess how much was forgiven? $972,000 because they included the interest.
Yeah, so that's just mind-blowing. Okay, I found the video for you guys. This is the American wealth inequality. This was, I guess this guy did this, and Jimmy Dore is who I saw it from. I don't know how it didn't come across my TikTok feed because this is the sort of stuff I'm highly interested in. It does help put things into perspective for people who just can't comprehend this inequality. Now listen to it.
Wealth inequality in the United States actually looks like. This grain of rice represents $200,000. That's about the median net worth of a citizen in the United States, which means if you took our population and drew a line split down the middle, about half of us have this much or less. Half of us have this much or less. Just going to put that down right there. 1 grain of rice. This is $1 million. 5 grains of rice. When most of us think rich, we think of $1 million. This is $100 million. This is about the net worth of CEOs who delay and deny care for sick Americans. This is also about the net worth of CEOs who tell Americans to eat cereal if they can't afford food for their hungry kids. This is $277 million. This is Elon Musk's personal investment in the 2024 elections. This is what he spent to buy the presidency. This is $1 billion. This is the approximate net worth of Vivek Ramaswamy. Only 800 people in the United States have this much money or more. As a frame of reference, think about how many people you went to high school with. Only 800. And this is $6.3 billion. This is the approximate net worth of Donald Trump. He recently said in an interview that he doesn't think he can bring groceries
for a second because I noticed that this creator is extremely biased here. He does mention, Donald Trump. He doesn't mention all the other billionaires that gave to, the campaign for Kamala Harris. She had a lot more wealthy donors than Trump ever had. Trump had Elon Musk, sure. They quote unquote call him the richest man in America. I want you guys to understand he is not. Elon Musk is not the richest man in America. There are people quite literally worth trillions of dollars. Do not listen to your mainstream news on this. They are lying to you once again. They want to paint Elon as the richest man in America to give you this perception or notion that Trump has the best and most valuable asset in his back pocket. He can reach out and pluck out little Elon Musk anytime he wants and say, give me more money to follow through with whatever I want. It's bullshit. There are people richer than this, but let's continue.
Prices down after running his campaign on a promise to do so. He also blames immigrants who have less than a fraction of a grain of rice each for a lot of the financial troubles facing our country. And this is Elon Musk. He's worth $400 billion. He spent $277 million on the 2024 election cycle, while we have homeless veterans on our streets and hungry kids in our schools. This is what actual wealth disparity looks like in America. Each grain of rice is worth $200,000. And Elon Musk also wants to fire 75% of our federal workforce, which includes a majority of veterans. He wants to fire 75% of these people who have a single grain of rice trying to earn a living and feed their families because he says that that's inefficient. Musk, Ramaswamy, and certain members of Congress also want to consider cutting social welfare programs that support people with less than a single grain of rice from going into poverty. They want to look at cutting these programs because they believe that that's inefficient. Now that we finished the civics lesson, let's talk biology. Did you know that all human beings, no matter how much money they have, are all mortal? We're all made of flesh and bone. We all have to eat, and we all have to sleep. Each of us has only one life, and I encourage you to do something notable with yours.
But these people like Khloe Kardashian and, these people didn't need this money. It's an ethical question that I think a lot of us need to look at and say, why were these things not scrutinized? Why were they not looked at like, okay, did you need this money, or was this kind of you want to take advantage of what we put out there that's accessible for people who really, really don't have the means at all? I totally agree with him that the American dream has been stolen, but it's only because people are dumb. And this is why I tell people all the time. I tell my husband this all the time as well. Rich people get rich because they use the system to their advantage. I've been watching The American Dream on Netflix, the story about Donald Trump. And what I found shocking about it was the amount of things, I would say, just situations that Donald Trump got away with just because of his ego, his personality, his gumption, the ability to say, well, what's the worst they can do? I mean, what's really the worst that they can do? Sure, if you were like a Bernie Madoff and you did something extremely outrageous, then you're going to be serving a long, lengthy federal prison time. But most of these people, just to put things into perspective, and I looked this up, they got away with it. Like, for instance, I was looking up all the loans, and I just, off the top of my head, assumed they got away with it. I didn't know for sure. But looking it up, yes, they all did. It says here that Tom Brady, Kanye West, Reese Witherspoon, every single one of them have been forgiven already. They've been forgiven. Both loans forgiven for Jay-Z, fully forgiven for Sean Diddy Combs, even though he's in jail, right? 1.93 million for Revolt Media. Mark Wahlberg, 500,000 for his restaurant chain. Well, that's kind of understandable. Restaurants suffered the most during the pandemic. So did, small businesses, and a lot of those businesses that require you to be in person. I totally understand. A lot of people inflated their numbers. A lot of people, said, hey, I spend $100,000 in overhead for employees, and really they spend 50. A lot of those people were being, checked out, audited, and found out to be guilty. But fake businesses, obviously, you don't want to do that, but that's what some people did do. But I find it odd that the government's not looking at the misuse of funds, because look at this, right? You have all this money already, and then you see them go out and take private jets and buy expensive Balenciaga clothes. Really, it's the misuse for me. They need to investigate that. Obviously, there's other reasons why, some people got caught up. I wanted to know who were the people that got caught up. Now, interestingly enough, this just came across my feed the other day, that somebody here in my own state of Arizona, a woman that does the news, an ex-TV news anchor, and her husband were indicted by the Department of Justice over alleged COVID loan fraud. So they also had their little scheme going.
Among the alleged criminals, a former Valley television anchor, Stephanie Hockridge, and her husband, Nathan Reese. During a federal hearing, numbers reaching into 10 figures are discussed.
I think it was 57,000 applications in PPP were for applicants who are on the do not pay list, involving several billions of dollars.
And how much fraud are we talking about just in those loans?
$3.6 billion.
Hockridge and Reese are accused of attempting to directly charge some applicants a 10% fee for successfully getting a loan, a violation of the Small Business Administration rules. A review of the loans showed what the couple was willing to do for the money.
Well, I got to pause there because I think what they're talking about here is ridiculous. Like, so they didn't just go after the loan for themselves. They went after the loan for other people applying to get the loan. Now, keep in mind, this loan program was a first come, first serve type of situation. It was a situation where if you qualified, you'd get, rewarded this loan. Some people didn't know the process. Some people didn't have high powered attorneys. They don't have anybody to really do this on their behalf. So what they did was they set up like a scheme, like an actual scheme to help you get these loans, and then they get a cut or a percentage of it. I find this utterly disgusting. And interestingly enough, I used to watch this Stephanie Hockridge and used to think, oh, this girl's so pretty, she's so smart. This is proof that, don't think looks doesn't get away with evil, guys. A lot of evil, unethical people are like this. They really are, especially money hungry people. I want to show you this video, just the first 30 seconds of her talking about what it feels like. Okay.
Christmas, because, billionaires get to just do whatever the fuck they want to their employees. Just wondering. Just wondering how I'm going to pay my bills, Kathy. I was wondering if there's a fucking hotline that maybe you could set up for us. I was just wondering if you can explain to me why part-time employees don't get fucking any fucking rights in New York State. Just wondering why I can't get FMLA. Oh, because I'm a part-time employee. Oh, let me explain to you why I'm a part-time employee, because I have to take care of my kids. I know that's not your problem, because childcare is so fucking expensive. I really don't have a choice. Also, no, it's not your problem. I know it's not your fucking problem. Nobody.
So let me explain something that I'm learning as I've gotten older. You have to have a business. You have to have a business. I remember when I was very young, my cousin had told me having a corporation, having a nonprofit, having something on the side is a shelter for you. If you do not have a business or somewhere to kind of say this is where my money's going, you're going to be paying taxes out the wazoo. American people are so, and I'm not a tax accountant, do not take this as law or anything. This is just something I've learned from my CPA mother, from my stepfather who's a contractor, my dad who's a business owner, CEO of his company. But the point is, you have to have a business. I don't care what business you start, just start a business. I was talking to my girlfriend from high school the other day. She's, been my friend since I was 13 years old. And she has a nonprofit. She has things set up. She does charity work on the side. These are ways to protect your investment, which is your hard-earned money that you're making at your regular 9 to 5. This breaks my heart. You have a lot of Americans like this that just don't have concept of business. They don't understand. They don't get the advice. They don't have time to go and read books and just lay around. They have to work 2-3 jobs to keep this charade going of working, going home, going to work, coming home. It's horrible. And you just know it's bad when you see Business Insider covering this story. Let's watch what they did. Might be redundant, some of the same faces, but let's just see what they say.
Musicians build American taxpayers for shopping sprees, private jets, and multi-million-dollar paychecks for themselves.
This was the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. The intended recipients of the grant money, arts venues, arts groups, basically organizations that were suffering during pandemic lockdowns.
A lot of those groups did benefit, but artists like Chris Brown, Lil Wayne sent that money mostly to their own pockets.
So out of the $8.9 million that Lil Wayne received, instead of spending the bulk of this money paying people like sound designers, lighting technicians, Lil Wayne spent $1.3 million of that money on private jets. He spent over $460,000 of that money on clothing. $5.3 million went to managers, administrators, accountants, more than 13 times what he paid his touring employees out of the grant. We see people like Chris Brown taking vacations to Tulum with his entourage, partying, and we asked ourselves, did Chris Brown really need $10 million from the federal government? Out of that $10 million, he paid himself $5.1 million. It went straight into his own pocket. For a lot of arts groups, this money was really essential. This was really something that saved them during the pandemic.
There was about $14 billion spent under this program at the end of the day. And what we're focused on is maybe a few hundred million. The median grant under this program was something like $300,000.
Far less than most of the musicians we're talking about. In fact, far less than Lil Wayne spent on clothing alone.
To read the
thing is, I hope that they're saying this accurately, because this could, they could get sued if they're incorrect that he spent those that money. Need to be treading lightly here to ensure that they're legitimately correct and accurate in how they're saying that, Lil Wayne, people like that spent their money. What I do want to add here is that, and I'll just show their images really fast. So there are several individuals that were, I guess, already arrested, right, and charged for fraudulently obtaining these loans. Nathan Reese and Stephanie Hawkridge, which I just showed you, they're news people. Well, the wife was a news anchor. Travis Harris was a background in NFL. This man here, pictured here. Lisa Bloom, Lisa Bloom is from the law firm. This is a high-powered attorney. I'll put her picture here. These people were arrested. She settled and agreed to pay $274,000 to settle the allegations of providing false information. Lafayette Re Management, private real estate manager with over $1 billion in assets. They agreed to settle a whistleblower action of 680,000 after being accused of fraudulently obtaining a PPE loan. All these people and many more, because I looked up, there's actual regular everyday Joe Schmoes that are being arrested for this. And the thing I was curious about is, how are they going to hold everyone accountable when you had that many people pull loans from this, right? Key thing to do. I think some people will get away with it. They just don't have the manpower to investigate every single one of these people. But here are some names. Rashid Khan from Georgia, a former college basketball player and self-proclaimed business consultant, charged with he bought a Rolex watch on this PPE loan and luxury items. I think this is where people get into problems when they're buying these things that they wouldn't normally buy, right? These huge, expensive, extravagant purchases that you wouldn't normally do, going on a trip, and then posting it all over social media. A lot of people got caught doing it because of their stupid, ignorant posts showing off what they bought. Amy and Robert Miller, Florida, background husband and wife duo operating a construction company. Well, construction, you would imagine that people would need these loans to keep their business afloat. But a lot of people, it says they inflated their payroll expenses to secure over $2 million. That's a lot of money. And both were arrested in 2023 and are awaiting trial on charges. Now, there were videos, I saw people crying on the internet of being arrested because of this. Jaswinder Singh in Texas, background owner of several convenience stores, submitting false payroll documentation. Outcome: Singh was arrested and indicted, faced federal charges related to fraud. Just figure, is it worth it to do this and know that you didn't need the money and then face jail time? Just for what? What exactly were you thinking you were going to do? Because if you thought that the Department of Justice wasn't going to come after you, you're out of your mind. And as you see there with Business Insider, it says the Department of Justice has expanded its focus to include cases involving technical noncompliance with the SBA's complex PPP regulations, not just outright fraud. So recent legislative changes have extended the statute of limitations for prosecuting pandemic relief fraud, allowing the government to pursue more time to pursue these cases. This is called pandemic oversight. I mean, literally, they have a committee called the Pandemic Oversight. It says, however, many loans were issued by non-banks or fintechs committed to identifying and prosecuting individuals and entities that engaged in fraudulent activities related to PPP loans, with ongoing investigations and legal actions expected to continue. I guess the reason I was interested in this is because I'm trying to figure out, I saw so many people crying on social media saying they're going to be arrested. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm thinking to myself, well, you knew what you were doing when you went out there and bought those Rolex watches and you went out there and inflated your payroll. Found is that, for example, in cases where the fraud involved large sums of money, particularly egregious sentences tend to be on the longer end of the spectrum. And they said that that guy, Travis Harris, who he ended up getting a 16-month sentencing, even though he was facing several years in prison. Ultimately, they're saying that this situation is going to vary, I guess, depending on the amount of money you got, the extent of what you lied about, if it's multiple things stacked on top of multiple things, you're going to end up having to pay restitution. You're going to have issues where your life is ruined because of one bad move like this. But hear me out. If you were a small business owner, if you did have people on staff, if you did have a loss during the pandemic, this was set up ideally for you to keep your business going. I saw so many businesses fail during the pandemic. I would circle the block and say, wow, that little restaurant that was down there shut down. Oh, that guy, he's not doing hair anymore. So the people that didn't take advantage of this, I'm sorry, but you have to take advantage of these type of things, grants like this, when they occur. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share this video. But if you don't like and share, just comment how you feel below. People that read these things, they know what's going on. And if they start to see discontent, they do have an ability to change and fine tune things. They might not completely give you what you want, But you gotta sound off that this is highly unethical and unfair and should never happen again. These loans should never go to the top 1%. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrate Christmas.